What if I told you that the world's most prolific serial killer might never have been caught if he had just known how to use a computer properly? Imagine a man who is killing his own patients. Now imagine that same man is their trusted friend, a pillar of the community, and a respected doctor. Sounds like a horror movie, right? This is the chilling true story of Dr. Harold Shipman. He didn't use his clinic to save lives, he used it to end them. For over 2 decades, he murdered right under everyone's noses in a sleepy English town. And he might have gotten away with it all if it weren't for one tiny, fatal mistake our story takes us to hide. A small, quiet town in England. We're talking about a place so small that everyone knows everyone. And for 23 years, in this town of just 30,000 people, a monster was at work. His name was Dr. Harold Shipman. To the people of Hyde, he wasn't a monster. He was a lifesaver. He was the doctor who actually cared. He specifically targeted the elderly and the lonely. These were patients who lived by themselves, people whose deaths would barely raise an eyebrow. Dr. Shipman would become their best friend. He'd make house calls, not just to check their blood pressure, but to listen to their stories, to hold their hands. He made them feel seen. Some of his patients trusted him so completely that they gave him their own house keys. He became a fixture in the community, beloved by everyone. They thought his bedside manner was a gift. But really, it was a hunting technique. Every time he sat with them, he was gathering intel. He was noting down the answers to questions no one else was asking. When are you alone? How much money do you have? Do you own this house? Where are your relatives? Once he had all the information he needed, he would strike. He would simply administer a lethal overdose of drugs. And because his victims were all over 80, and because he was the one who signed the death certificate, no one suspected a thing. No one, that is, until he made a mistake. But let's rewind for a second. This didn't start in Hyde. Shipman's dark journey began years earlier in a town called Todmorden. There, he was hooked on a powerful painkiller called pethidine. He started prescribing it to patients who didn't need it, creating a wave of unwitting addicts who felt great after their checkups, not knowing they were being drugged. The hospital administration eventually caught on and fired him. He was on the verge of losing his medical license forever. But he checked into a rehab center, cleaned up his act, and by 1977, he had a fresh start in Hyde. For years, he played the part of the perfect small-town doctor. But by 1993, he opened his own clinic, and the killing truly began. The frequency of deaths among his elderly patients started to climb, but he was so respected, so trusted, that no one saw the pattern. No one, except one person, was watching from across the street. In March 1998, a doctor named Linda Reynolds, who worked in a surgery directly opposite Shipman's clinic, noticed something strange. She saw a statistic that was impossible to ignore. In the last 3 months, Shipman had lost 16 patients. Her own practice, which had 3 times as many patients, had only lost 14. 16 deaths in one tiny practice. It didn't add up. And then came the detail that sealed her suspicion. Every single one of those 16 patients had been cremated, not buried. In a Christian community where burial is the norm, this was a huge red flag. Dr. Reynolds reported her concerns to the coroner, but without hard evidence, the investigation went nowhere. It was shut down in a month. Shipman was free, and in that time he killed 3 more people. Then came his final victim, Kathleen Grundy, an 81-year-old former mayor of Hyde. When she was found dead in her home, Shipman was, of course, the last person to see her alive. He signed her death certificate, writing the cause of death as simply old age. But Kathleen's daughter, Angela Woodruff, was a lawyer. And she got suspicious when she found a new will from her mother. The will left everything, her entire house, to Dr. Shipman. Angela knew her mother owned 2 houses, but the will only mentioned one. It was clear the document was written by someone who didn't know about the second property, and that someone, she was sure, was Dr. Shipman. The police reopened the case. They exhumed Kathleen Grundy's body. The toxicology report was shocking. She had died from a lethal dose of diamorphine, medical-grade heroin. When police confronted Shipman, he was ready with an explanation. He said Kathleen was a drug user and that he had even noted it in her medical records. He had recently started using a computerized medical journal. To prove his claim, he showed them the entry. It was the perfect alibi, except for one tiny, technological detail he didn't understand. The file was dated before Kathleen had died. But when the police computer forensics team looked at the file's metadata, the hidden information that tracks when a file was last edited, they saw the truth. The entry was actually written after her death, then backdated. He had forged the evidence. And that wasn't all. Police found the typewriter used to forge Kathleen's will. The typewriter had a broken character, a specific flaw that left the same exact mark on the will found in Shipman's possession. On September 7, 1998, the beloved Dr. Harold Shipman was arrested. The arrest broke the dam. Other families, who had always felt a sliver of doubt about their loved one's death, finally came forward. They had been too afraid to question the town's most popular doctor. The investigation widened, and a horrifying pattern emerged. Shipman would administer a fatal dose of diamorphine, forge the medical records, sign the death certificate as old age, and then strongly recommend cremation to destroy all the evidence. A massive public inquiry was launched. They examined every single one of his patients who had died under his care. They interviewed families and exhumed bodies. The final, confirmed number of his victims was 218, but that's just the cases with enough proof. Experts believe the true number could be as high as 260, and one of his cellmates later claimed Shipman confessed to a staggering 508 murders. In 2000, Harold Shipman was found guilty of murdering 15 patients and was sentenced to life in prison. But he never faced justice for all of them. 4 years into his sentence, he hanged himself in his cell. Why did he do it? Was it a God complex? Was it the childhood trauma of watching his own mother die from cancer, injected with morphine? We may never know the real reason, but his story remains a terrifying reminder that monsters don't always lurk in the shadows. Sometimes, they wear a white coat and carry a stethoscope. If you found this story as chilling as I did, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear it. And let me know in the comments, do you think he acted alone, or is it possible he had help? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.